Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. We are going to be talking about what has happened in the last week and a half with the murder of Charlie Kirk, and we're really going to dive into what Christians should take from that. Today, we also are going to give you guys an update on AB 495, the bill we've been fighting hard against in California. We're going to update you about where it's at and what you can do to fight back against it, as well as we're going to talk about a new Save Girls Sports lawsuit that has been introduced. You're definitely going to want to stay and keep tuning in until we get to that. It's pretty disturbing because there's, sexual harassment kind of included in this one, and there's some pretty disturbing things to walk through in that lawsuit, but proud of the girls that are doing it. So with all that, Greg, AB 495, we've talked about it on probably every podcast since the bill has really blown up. Where is AB 495 at, and what is it doing?
Well, it's on Governor Newsom's desk. It passed the legislature last week, and now it's up to Governor Newsom to decide whether he is going to pass a bill that violates parental rights or not. As we've been telling you about this bill for several months, we are super concerned about something in the bill called the Caregiver Authorization Affidavit. This is a form that just about anybody can fill out, and it gives you authority that used to be reserved only for the parent who has the custody. And so I have the form right here. You just print it right off your computer, off the internet, and it gives you authority to do a couple things. All you got to do is have the name of the minor, the minor's birth date, the name of the adult signing it, and your home address, and sign it like that and say, hey, these things are true, and that gives the signer the authority to enroll a minor in school and authorize school-related medical care. Now, I read that off the form. So for all those folks out there who saying I'm misinforming people, folks, we're just reading the text of the law. Right? And so that threatens parental rights. Now, parents aren't losing custody. What's happening is that someone else who signs the form gets to do things that only the parent who has custody used to be able to do. Now, why are they allowing this? Well, because some people who have been caught up in the illegal immigration and been apprehended by ICE and other federal authorities, there's concern that those kids are left in the lurch with nobody to take care of them, and they want an easy way for another adult to make schooling decisions for that child without having to call CPS and getting the social services involved. That's it. Now, the form does something else. If you want to make medical decisions for a child, you have to admit that you're a relative of some kind. And you could be a relative up to a 5th degree of kinship, which means you're second cousins on both sides. I don't know all my second cousins. And so you check that you've tried to contact the parents. You either told them or you didn't tell them because you couldn't contact them. You put your date of birth. You write down some kind of identification number, driver's license, government issued ID, social security card, and then you sign this, and you don't have to verify any of it. Actually, there's notes on here saying a person who relies on this affidavit has no obligation to make any further inquiry or investigation. So whoever fills this out, there's no making sure that this information is true. You can pretend to be a relative and take it to a doctor, and the doctor is supposed to take that as authority. That's why we're concerned, and that's why we've been protesting. Sadly, we were not able to convince any of the Democrats. They voted lock and step. All of them voted, I think for one in the Senate, voted for the bill. All the Republicans actually voted against it. And so it's a big political divide here. They said we are giving out misinformation. The other side saying, hey, offers huge loopholes. And so that's where we stand at the moment. It's up to governor to decide by October 14th or 13th whether he's going to sign this or not, or whether he's going to veto it. We are encouraging him to veto. So, folks, you can call his office. We've been providing his contact number. You can either call his office, or there's an easy drop-down menu. You pick which bill you want to comment on. You can send him a comment. And so that's what I did. You can do it too. Just go to his website, push the contact button, and fill it out. Overwhelm the man. He wants to run for president. Let him know that if he signs this bill, it's going to be he's going to be known as the candidate that doesn't care about parental rights, and we're not going to let it go. So, folks, the battle's not over.
Absolutely.
So that's the update on that.
Yes, and so like Greg said, call Governor Newsom's office. Send information. If you're listening now and you're like, hey, I want to write down his phone number. To call Governor Newsom's office, the number is 916-445-2841. So again, to call Governor Newsom's office, that number is 916-445-2841. But you can easily find that online, and you can call and urge him to vote no, and make it clear that everyone is watching what he is doing. But Greg, thank you for that update on AB 495. Hopefully we see it die at Governor Newsom's desk and not get signed into law. Otherwise, we're going to see then legal action play out in regards to that. But something that I'm sure has been heavy on the hearts of all those listening, all those that are Christians and engaged in what's happening in the world. It was really sad to watch and hear and see about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point, someone who I believe really made an impact on the last presidential election, someone who has been really impacting Gen Z and college students to learn how to debate, on how to think critically, but also in his faith. We've watched a transformation through Charlie Kirk, where first it was mostly politics, and in the past 2-3 or so years, we've really seen him push his faith and talk about his faith and unashamedly share the gospel, and resort a lot of his, when he's discussing with students in debates, back to the gospel, back to what the Bible has to say. And unfortunately, we saw he was assassinated for his political beliefs, and he's a martyr for the Christian faith. I mean, one of the videos people are seeing go viral right now is just a few months ago, he was asked on a podcast that if you were to no longer be here, if you were to pass away, how would you want to be remembered? And he said, for his courage, for his faith. And I just really think how many Christians can really say that, and how many Christians can say that they're living out their life for Jesus every single day. I know maybe when it was all going down, it might have instilled some fear into you. I mean, I felt that way when we were watching this play out. And then God kind of grabbed a hold of me and convicted my heart and just reminded me to have fear of God over fear of man. And I just think something that I've been thinking about every single day since the passing away of Charlie, and this is how he lived his life out, was we need to be doing stuff that makes Satan mad. I want Satan to be mad about what I do every single day for the kingdom, for Christianity, for Jesus. And I've just been it's been on my heart, really been sharing with people, talking with people, thinking about things. And for the Christians that are listening right now, if Satan can look at the way you're living your life as a Christian and he can see, oh, good, I don't have to worry about that Christian. That Christian's not boldly living out their Christian faith. That Christian's not telling people about Jesus. That Christian's not defending biblical values. That Christian's not doing this, this, and that. We need to shake things up. We need to rethink how we're living. We need to be unashamed to speak the truth. And so it's been really encouraging to see the impact that Charlie is still continuing to have. He, again, on a podcast recently, it's another video going viral, he shared that he believes everyone technically dies twice. The moment they die and the last time someone actually says their name. And I think he's someone where we're not going to see that second one happen. I hope that we continue to talk about him for years to come, for children to read about him in history books, to be impacted and inspired by him. And I hope we can continue to see that. We've seen thousands upon thousands of new college and high school groups reaching out to try to start a turning point on their campus. And I know Charlie would have loved to see that. But let's just recognize that there is evil out there. This is a spiritual battle we are fighting in, but we need to fear God over man and continue to stand for the truth.
All right. No, and one of the things I've been just impacted by, he wasn't a politician. He wasn't elected to office. He was a political commentator, but he had a special gift with college students, and he was brave enough to go on college campuses, and he wanted to talk with people who disagree with him. Mm-hmm. Right? He wanted to be challenged by other people's ideas, which, how often can we say that? I mean, a lot of times that's uncomfortable, right? What if somebody approaches you or asks you something that you don't know how to answer? But, he practiced, and so he got good at answering questions, and I'm sure it challenged him to think through his answers. So I think a whole lot of people saw what a great guy he was. His life was definitely affected by his faith, and he had a family and little kids, and to see his life just snuffed out like that, it just, it's heartbreaking, right? And the crazy thing is, I'm watching online, I'm hearing from people I actually know who decided because of his death, I'm going to try God again. I'm going to try the church. I'm going to go back to church. Like, here's a guy who gave it all for something, and this is what he wanted to live for. And what about me? So he wasn't a great politician or had any kind of particular power, but everybody's talking about going to church. Trying it again, and all these vigils from around the world. It's crazy. Even the legislature, right here in California, the day it happened, they both the Senate and the Assembly had moments of silence. They were all impacted by the brutality of snuffing out somebody who was simply killed because he was, talking about his political and religious beliefs. I mean, it's just so tragic. And even those who really disagree with him, they're willing to do that. They realized his life, what happened to him was wrong. And so I don't know. We'll see. I think his impact will continue. But I know you got a couple clips here to kind of give us a feel for what he was saying at the end, and so and what he said to you, because I know you were interviewed by him too on the issue of girls' sports, a thing that we have been fighting for. We've been fighting for here in California to protect girls' sports. So let's see those.
Yeah, something about Charlie Kirk is when a lot of people have given up on California, and I'm not referring to Californians, I'm talking about maybe people that are speaking on biblical issues, political issues that are across the nation, and they felt like California is a lost cause, California is too far gone. Charlie Kirk never felt that way. He made time to talk about the California issues, the Save Girls Sports issue, and let's check out a little clip of him and I discussing that.
Athletes.
Unfortunately, they are, especially in California. Trump put out this great executive order, and just days later, CIF, who's the governing body of high school sports in the state of California, said, nope, we're not going to follow it. We're going to continue to allow boys to compete in girls' sports, to be in their locker rooms, and we're seeing that happen this weekend. We're going to watch a male who is right now first in 3 different track events compete against girls and beat out the girls for the position of finals.
So tell us about A.B. Hernandez. So A.B. Hernandez, I actually brought up to Gavin Newsom. Let's start with this, actually. Let's play cut 266. This was my conversation with Gavin Newsom. Play cut 266.
It's like you right now should come out and be like, you know what?
the young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports.
Right.
That shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace. That these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
So A.B. Hernandez, the person in question, is in first place. That's a biological man in 3 different track and field events, and he's competing in the women's category in preliminaries. Tell us more.
Yeah, so this Saturday at Yorba Linda High School, we have the CIF preliminaries, and he right now is in first for high jump, long jump, and triple jump. And so these girls are going to have to be competing against them. And let's be real, he's going to beat them. He has these biological advantages. I've been able to talk to some of their girls and some of the families that are competing this weekend, and they know it's unfair. And the fact that they have to go into preliminaries and not just be ready to compete, not just make sure they got enough sleep, make sure they ate the right things, make sure they trained hard enough for the preliminaries, but they now have to focus on the fact that there is a boy competing against them, that no matter how hard they train, that he is going to outperform them because of these biological advantages. And, we've worked real hard in California to push back on this. We had actually 2 Save Girls sports bills this year. I testified in support of one of them. It was Assembly Bill 89 by Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez. And I was actually able to quote that clip of Governor Newsom saying it's deeply unfair that boys are in girls' sports. And guess what? He actually doesn't care about this issue, because when that bill had a hearing, where was he? He was nowhere to be found. And when his office was asked for a comment on the Save Girls sports bills, he said his office doesn't make comments about current bills, which is a complete lie.
And so it's been really awesome to watch him continue to platform quite a few different Californians about these issues. He had another woman on his show with the name of Amy Ichikawa, and she was able to discuss the issue of men and women's prisons here in California. And so I'm grateful that he didn't give up on California, that he continued to push the fight here, and we're going to continue to carry that on. And that podcast episode with him was from a few months ago, but unfortunately, there's still the issue of men and girls sports here in the state of California. And Greg, we have seen a new lawsuit from Advocates for Faith and Freedom that was just released about 2 weeks ago. And what is going on with that case?
Right. It's the same school, the same male athlete that's causing the issue. And so this particular lawsuit, and I'm looking at the press release from Advocates for Faith and Freedom, and 3 brave female athletes from Jurupa. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. I did. Jurupa Valley High School found the courage to file a federal lawsuit, a civil rights lawsuit, after enduring 3 years of competition in girls' sports with a boy who chose to play volleyball and run track. And despite the school's repeated threats of suspension and retaliatory action for speaking up, these young women chose the courageous act to help file this lawsuit. And this lawsuit is against 3 entities, not against the young boy. It's against the California Department of Education. It's against the California Interscholastic Federation, which is CIF, and Jurupa Unified School District, with blatant violations of Title IX. That's the federal law that protects discrimination based on sex, the Equal Protection Clause, and the First Amendment. And it says school officials knowingly allowed a male athlete into the girls' volleyball and track teams and into the girls' locker rooms, ignoring repeated reports of butt tapping, sexual harassment, and unsafe conditions caused by this male athlete. And instead of protecting the young women, these administrators retaliated against those who spoke out, threatening suspensions, accusing athletes of failing to be team members. Be supportive of your team, and removing athletes from team communications. And so we look forward to what the federal court is going to do. Of course, the federal administration is threatening pulling funding for any school that doesn't protect girls' sports. There's all kinds of lawsuits happening. So this is a new one, and this whole idea of sexual harassment. Like right now, if you are watching this online, there is a social media picture of the male athlete at a game. It looks like a volleyball game, with his hands on two of the girls, his teammates, and he's touching their butts while they put their hand on his back. After a good hit, when you're playing volleyball and you're trying to get the team to rally together, the team kind of does a huddle. Well, he's putting his hands on their butts. Right? Now, he's saying, well, if the other girls get to do it to the other girls, I should be able to get to do it too, or it's discrimination. And these girls, one of them is a Muslim. They're like, no, this is sexual harassment. In any other situation, this would be unwanted sexual touching, right? Can you imagine? And yet the adults in this are just letting it happen. Why? Because this boy, we're all concerned about this boy who feels like he's a girl, right? So the adults are to blame. They're encouraging this young man who is confused. They're encouraging him to take on this identity that is not his. It is not kindness. It is not love. To encourage this young guy to think that his body is all wrong, that he was born in the wrong body, and somehow he's a female because he doesn't quite feel like he should feel being a male. We come back we have to come back to the reality that your feelings can lie to you, right? Feelings should not be trusted as a basis for gender identity, sexual identity, your behavior, your identity in general, right? We should be encouraging kids to trust their biology to tell them truth, not their feelings. And so that's what's happening with this particular lawsuit. And I know there's other things happening as well. But was there something else you wanted to show?
No, I just wanted to, again, if you're not listening to the podcast on a podcast platform, but if you're actually tuning in on YouTube or Facebook or X, again, you can see that photo here. And I played club volleyball. I know how it works. You get, like Greg said, you get a good hit off, you get a good point, you get an ace on a serve, whatever it is, you kind of run in, huddle up, and we would smack each other on each other's butts. Like, that's just kind of the culture of volleyball. That's what would happen. A girl would get a good point and you would slap her on her butt. I mean, at least that's what happened 7-8 years ago when I was playing, 10 years ago when I was playing club volleyball. But that doesn't mean girls need to think it's okay for boys to be slapping their butts or putting their hands on their butts in the group huddle, which is what we see here. And so these girls have every right to be upset, to be angry, to move forward with this lawsuit that in regards to Title IX. Because, again, where have we gone in a society when we are telling girls that this is okay and this is the new normal? This is not okay. This is not the new normal, and we need to push back against it. But with that, Greg, we have also seen school boards across California introduce a Title IX resolution that was originally put together by Sonia Shaw, the president of the Chino Valley Unified School District, the board there. And we've seen different school districts take up this Title IX resolution, basically saying that as a school district, we stand with Title IX. We recognize these girls. It's just a resolution, so it's just a statement. It doesn't necessarily change the policy at the school. But it's been encouraging to see different school boards pass the resolution. Some have not passed it, but they were able to get one person to introduce it. But Greg, up in Elk Grove Unified near Sacramento, we have a school board member, Heidi, who has taken it upon herself to introduce, or her goal is to introduce this Save Girls Sports Title IX resolution. and she could use some help from the public. So what can we share with the people?
Right. On September 23rd, the school board, the Elk Grove Unified School Board, is going to be discussing a resolution. It's called Supporting Title IX and Fairness in Girls Sports, interscholastic sports, right? And so it's about telling the school, hey, you have an obligation first to obey the laws of the land, and the federal government is higher than the state government. And so it's wrong to discriminate. And you are discriminating against girls when you let boys take their spots on teams, and when you let boys who have a physical advantage, they take spots on the podium, right? We're seeing that happen more and more, and the only thing that's going to stop it is for the public, who I believe polls are up to about 80% of even Californians are against letting boys participate in girls' sports. So, and even the governor, as you saw with the quote with the Charlie Kirk, he thinks it's unfair. So if we all think it's unfair, why are we keep putting up with it? Mm-hmm. Folks, we've got to stand up. And part of that standing up means going to public meetings and speaking up for these girls. And it's got to start with us. We can't be quiet anymore. If 20% of the population is dictating to 80% of the population what they must do, something is desperately wrong. So if you're in the Elk Grove area, go on September 23rd. The meeting starts at 6:30. Around 6, this item is on the agenda towards the end. So if you come, be prepared to stay a while. But there will be a time for public to comment supporting this resolution. And we're simply trying to get the school board to approve putting this on their agenda. So it's not even approving the resolution, it's approving to put it on the agenda. So come out by the hundreds. I hope that happens.
Yes, and if you're wanting to find more information on this, California Family Council on Instagram or our YouTube page, there is a flyer about it with all the details, the address, the timing, all of that. So we would love to see you guys take a stand there, as well as if you are in the Southern California area and would want to join us for our Orange County Gala on October 4th. We will have Bethany Hamilton. Many of you know her as Soul Surfer. She will be the keynote speaker. We're going to be discussing her life story of losing her arm to a shark and her persevering through that. We're also going to talk about the stand she's taken to protect girls' sports, to say no more to allowing boys and girls' sports. And so it's going to be an inspiring night. Again, October 4th, it's going to be in Southern California. And so you can visit cfcgala.com for more information to get tickets. And if you're not in Southern California, if you're anywhere in the nation, wherever you're at, if you cannot attend, but you want to sponsor a female athlete that has taken a stand, that has stood up for the protection of girls' sports, if you want to sponsor a girl to attend the gala, to hear from Bethany Hamilton, to get inspired and excited to continue to make a bold stand on this issue, you can also sponsor her. You can sponsor a female athlete. So that is at cfcgala.com to get tickets for yourself or to sponsor a female athlete. But with that, we will see you all next time.